Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Brand spanking new article here titled Solo Token is Best Move to Help Mass Adoption of XRP and Cryptocurrency. And so I don't know that I completely agree with it. It should be good, but as far as the best move, let me share with you some specifics and then you can tell me what you think. I'd love to hear from you ultimately in the comment section below here. But this is the Sologenic project, which I have covered in the past, so this is certainly not intended to be a rehash of that. But I want to run through this new article to share with you some comments from a couple notable members of the XRP community. One being David Schwartz. Of course, he's Ripple's CTO and co-creator of the XRP ledger itself, what he thinks about this. And also a comment from Wheatsay Wind, who is a creator of the XRP Tipbot and founder of XRPL Labs, which of course is funded through Ripple's Spring Initiative. So Bob Ross is the one, he's the CEO of Sologenic, and I'll let him make the case. I'll share with you specifics in this article. And I'll wrap up this video with something that I just found interesting. It's an article from Cointelegraph, and it's titled, Hodlers Are Insane. 64% of Bitcoin supply has not moved since 2018. So before we get going any further here, if you would please delicately tap that like button, and if you are a fan of Ripple and XRP, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel. You will thank your future self. So here's a tweet from Sologenic. I came across this in my newsfeed, which is what led me to this article. And so they tweeted out, our CEO, Bob Ross, explained the Solo card, which will be unveiled in the first quarter of 2020, is targeted at replacing traditional credit and debit cards. And then an interesting read from News Logical here. So let's go ahead and dive into this piece right now. The CEO of Coinfield, who recently launched Sologenic, Bob Ross, continues to emphasize the role his project will be playing in the fintech industry. In a quick response to some teeming followers of the project, Bob revealed the great benefits that Sologenic will be introducing into the cryptocurrency industry. And yes, we're going to talk a little bit, don't worry, we're going to talk about the Solo coin. Why is that being used rather than XRP? What's going on there? How does this benefit XRP? Bob said Sologenic was designed to bridge the wide gap between the crypto industry and traditional finance market, adding that there is no better move geared towards enhancing the usage of XRP and cryptocurrency at large. The CEO further stated that the Solo token would greatly augment the adoption of cryptocurrencies globally. More than any other coin, it is clear that XRP will benefit from the project because Sologenic is an XRP ledger-based project, Ross has said on several occasions. So again, this is another developer building directly on top of the XRP ledger. Bob Ross said that when Sologenic links the crypto and traditional financial market, it will be a win-win scenario for everyone, and Sologenic would help upsurge, I read that wrong, the daily trading volume for both markets. He emphasized that Sologenic offers users the ability to trade about 30,000 tokenized stocks and ETFs against XRP or Solo. So both there. In another development, CEO Bob Ross extolled the speed of Sologenic, saying the project is fast. Giving XRP much credence, Bob said 200 Solo transactions were completely executed in less than 15 seconds. And now here's a quote. Sologenic transaction handler is fast. 200 Solo transactions are confirmed in less than 15 seconds on XRP network. Gotta love XRP. So whatever you think about this, Bob Ross clearly an XRP bull. And I don't think it's cited in this article, but I just popped in my head. I remember him talking about how specifically XRP is superior to Ethereum. I remember covering that fairly recently as well. Previously in a conversation with News Logical, Bob Ross explained that Solo card, which will be unveiled in the first quarter of 2020, is targeted at replacing traditional credit and debit cards. Ross said the card will allow users to spend their tokenized assets around the world without any transaction fee. And so, of course, with XRP being specifically, it's the native digital on the words are hard. It's the native digital asset on the XRP ledger. it makes it more likely to be utilized. It's just another avenue for moving money around the world. And again, it's right there, and it's obviously very fast and almost free. The transactions are almost free on the XRP ledger. So I just want to read one thing. This is the Sologenic website. I just want to read the brief description of what they wrote themselves on the front page here. Sologenic is a sophisticated ecosystem that facilitates investing and trading of on-demand tokenized assets, including stocks and ETFs, from 25-plus global exchanges on top of the XRP ledger. So, just blending traditional finance and cryptocurrency, right? So, what's going on with all this? Well, I remembered this tweet from David Schwartz, and so I had to Google it, and I came across it. What I have on the screen here is it's a Coil blog from Max Planks, and I just wanted to cover this part because he had a screen grab of exactly what I was looking for here. So there's a tweet from somebody named XRP Zen who wrote this, and then David Schwartz responded. So XRP Zen writes, serious question. How does the new project by Coinfield, that's Sologenic, Bob Ross, affect the demand of XRP if the transactions are in Solo? Does building directly on the ledger affect the price of XRP? Now, David Schwartz responded with this. Almost any project that brings valuable and desirable issued assets to the XRP ledger should be good for XRP. Features like auto-bridging and XRP being the only asset that every account can hold make natural incentives to use XRP as a liquidity tool for on-ledger exchange. So, yeah, like I was kind of saying right there, not as artfully as David, it's right there. So again, utilizing it as a liquidity tool could make a ton of sense here. Certainly it's not bad. Now, there were other concerns that were cited with all the transactions on the XRP ledger, and of course, the ledger on-chain can handle up to 1,500 transactions per second. Some people have voiced concerns about this ultimately, as adoption continues, bogging down the XRP ledger with transactions that don't specifically use XRP, but there should be scaling solutions down the road should we start bumping up against that at some point anyway. So presumably not going to be the end of the world, and then it steers people to the XRP ledger, and it's going to, if this plan works out with Sologenic, it'll just be another thing that shows, yes, the XRP ledger will have staying power. So from my perspective, it's probably going to be a net plus if I had to guess here. Now, here's another tweet. This is from Puckster Pete, and then tagged Wheatsay Wind, and Wheatsay Wind did respond. So here's what Puckster Pete wrote. Wheatsay Wind, why not use XRP as the bridge, referencing Sologenic here, instead of creating solo coins? And so Wheatsay Wind responded, 2 tweets. The first one's the important one, though. He wrote, because they use existing tech that is already bridged, it would be a crazy amount of work to rebuild something like that with all rules and bridges to exchanges, markets, etc. Then he tweets out, P.S. This was one of my first questions as well. So there you go. So that's the reason for it anyway. So tell me what you think on this specifically. Should this be a net plus for XRP? Again, my suspicions are the answer is yes. Now, as far as the claim, you can see in the headline here from Bob Ross, Solo token is best move to help mass adoption of XRP. I don't know that I'd say best. It should be good, and we'll see to what degree all this takes hold and to what degree it impacts XRP ultimately. But I'd still say that the most important thing in terms of XRP adoption, well, it's already taking place. It's what Ripple is doing as it pertains to the development of RippleNet and specifically on-demand liquidity utilizing XRP as a bridge currency, because that's the reason that XRP is third in market cap right now. There is a reason for it. It's what Ripple is doing primarily. So I think it's kind of a bold claim to say this is the best move to help adoption of XRP, but I appreciate that things are being done, and so it's just a matter of opinion anyway. All right, now, onto the Cointelegraph piece. Hodlers are insane. 64% of Bitcoin supply has not moved since 2018. Over 60% of the total Bitcoin in circulation has not left its wallet in more than a year, highlighting demand among investors. That was the conclusion of analyst Rhythm, who uploaded statistics about Bitcoin network activity on December 2nd, which is today, of course. Of the roughly 18.08 million Bitcoins which have been mined, 11.58 million, or 64% of the supply, has stayed in the same wallet since 2018. The figure is striking, as during that time, Bitcoin/USD expanded from $3,100 last December to 2019 highs of $13,800 just 6 months later. and I think it's fair to state that's notable, sure. Subsequently, markets reversed downward, shaving 52% off the highs to reach local lows of 6,500 on November 25th. And then here's where the quote comes from. Hodlers of last resort are insane, Rhythm summarized. Fair enough. According to the data, the amount of dormant Bitcoin as a percentage of the total supply has sharply increased in recent years. The trend has remained intact during both bull markets and bear markets, signaling a desire among investors to save rather than spend regardless of profitability. And so the question that I have is, okay, so that's how much Bitcoin stayed put in wallets. How much of that stayed put specifically because it's lost forever? How many hard drives with private keys saved on them ended up in landfills? You know, because stuff like that did happen. I mean, maybe it's not a huge percentage, but I just popped in my head and I thought, how much of that is just never going to move ever again anyway? But either way, I think this goes to show, I think it's a fair assumption to show that, to state that, you know, as far as the longevity of the crypto asset class, of course, I'm very firm on this, it's here to stay regardless of what happens with Bitcoin or even XRP in terms of staying power. And of course, I'm Mr. XRP Bull. I think XRP is going to be here pretty much forever. But I'm just saying, I'm even more sure that crypto is going to be here because there's things you can do with this technology that you can't do. You know, not just blockchain, but just having a digital asset with an open market value. There's things that you can't do, and it has to do with trust. You know, it's specifically why it comes right down to trust. But I don't think that, of course, this is ever going to go away. And so I think that what this data kind of shows, if I just had to guess, is that even though people don't know exactly what the landscape's going to look like in terms of the way that things are going to unfold and this and that, fine, I get that, and I don't know exactly what it's going to look like either. I just have little glimpses of clarity based on the way that XRP is being adopted. That's pretty much it. But I think it shows that there's enough people out there that there is something to this, even if they haven't figured out crypto indeed is here to stay. But anyway, that's it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!